Hey everyone, it's me again. As you all notice, got a new look. I look well. I know in previous videos I looked kind of rough. I hope you don't look at the image of a person, but rather pay attention to the message that the person is carrying. So I was just gonna do a little general talk. It's really not nothing prepared. It's just a general talk. And the subject is gonna be about the school system. Pretty much talking about like how to revolutionize the schooling system, and how does it look like. And again, like previous videos, this is just from my experience, and like what I went through as a student myself. When I was in school, and also just comparing that and to the schooling system to what's going on right now. So the school system, of course, we all know it's a institution, a public institution, for learning. It is also funded, by different institutions, like the public school, the city, the federal, So the school system, also has support, from the federal government, state government, local governments, whatever you call them. But a school itself, regular public schools, have support from, your governments and stuff. So the schooling system, as I look at it today, to me, I think that the schooling system is a complete failure. It's a bit complete failure. And even, when you, well, let me just talk about the regular schooling system, as in your K through 12 schooling system. And as I was going through as I was going through different grades, as I was going to school myself, I noticed that. Sorry about that. I noticed that the schooling system is really not preparing the youth for today's world. Is really not, because as one going to school, one have to also, it's also survival in their life too as well. What I mean by survival, because, on their way to getting an education, their survival in the family, their survival in the streets, the community, and even society itself. And and sadly, even up in the school itself, is pretty much survival. And the schooling system don't teach that. They just pretty much teach you the standards of what they want you to teach. A standard that's set by, someone in authority, someone over the educational system. They pretty much have certain standards that they have to teach. But my thing, I'm pretty much focusing about is, why not they teach something that's relating to one's everyday life, or incorporate that with, education. And, one of those things I would say is incorporate like how to make money. How to plan for money, how to save for money, how to invest in money, because, whether that child is in, elementary, junior high, or high school, they need to learn some basic skills of how to save money too as well, because when they get in the adult world, let's face it, and let's also admit it, that, it's a no mercy thing. When they get out of high school, even graduated, it's a no mercy thing, and that's a really scary thing right now, because a lot of the people want to continue their education, but they really can't afford it. And of course, there are some people who would say, well, hey, you got to do this and you got to do that, but See, the thing with that is, and usually it's from people who made it. And don't get me wrong, there are people who went to the school of hard knocks, and they bust their butt. They got a good education. They got their college degree and got their good paying job. But each and every person is going through something as they're trying to learn something, and the school system is not really preparing for life. They just preparing you to, as I like to call it, to just be a good, obedient worker. As long as you learn this and learn that, and be a good, obedient worker, and find you a good paying job or a college job, then you'll be okay. But it never teaches you about survival in a home. Some of us grow up, in families that don't have, food or very little food, and the only time that the child really eats is when they're at school. Like I said earlier about finances, a lot of us grew up in environments where finances, plays a big part. The child don't know when they're gonna find their first meal or get to school, or or the parents can't afford school supplies or school clothing or shoes. That thing has been, that's one of the really, really important things right there is, as one try to get their education, that they need to have something to back them. And then there's a lot of people who, come from an abusive home, physical abuse, sexual abuse, drug abuse, whatever it is, parents on drugs or whatever, that child is looking for some attention because they can't fend for themselves. When the mom or dad or both parents are on drugs, or that child will be molded by somebody, will be taught by somebody. That's why I always say, if the parents don't teach their child, then that child will be taught by someone or something. Something will, get inside that child's head. That child will learn something from somebody. And, if that child don't have any type of good guidance, then, that child is on the path to failure or some type of danger. Everyone is looking for some type of attention whatsoever. So that child have to get it from somewhere. Some children go to school with, welt marks or, being abused whatsoever. And sometimes it's a generational curse thing, if I can call it that, the child was abused and didn't grow up, with the basic needs that they need for, schooling or just on a regular day-to-day basis. Maybe their mom was like that. Because a lot of times you can also take the image of the person who's teaching you, or at least supposed to teach you. If that parent or guardian don't care nothing about the child, then more than likely that child will grow up the same way. Now, I'm not saying it's absolute that it's like that for every child, but some people do break the curse on their own, and it just takes a lot more effort to as well to, and don't get me wrong, even myself, it was kind of hard to try to get a good education without, while at the same time being tempted to do something, that somebody else who don't care about their education wants you to do, and even when I was going to school, I noticed that, people don't take learning serious anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, when I was going to school as well, there are a lot of things that needed to be taught, but was never taught. Again, it goes by that, what the standards that the teacher wants you to teach, but incorporate survival principles. When I was in school, it was never taken seriously, and one of the reasons why you have a lot of failing schools is, education is no longer important anymore. People don't teach with a loving heart anymore, but they just teach just because they want a paycheck. And that's why a lot of people really don't want to be teachers. And it's just one of those things that to me, I think education should be one of those. How do I learn this? How does it make me a better person in life? And even as you go into college, even when you're going to college, it should always be, well, okay, if I get this job, how does it make me a better person individually first, then in society? And some things you got to question. I'm big on questioning things. I'm big on questioning and challenging things. Who say that you have to accept something just because a great majority accepts it? You have to accept something when you find out that it's beneficial to you, not towards everybody else. Where hey, you need to go to college. Well, sometimes college is not for everybody. You can go to a trade school, get you a trade, and make just as much money as a person who went to a 4-year college or got a master's or a doctorate degree. You can be an apprentice under somebody. But, as one is learning, no matter what it is, what field it is, I think one should have a role model, a good role model who will also teach them survival skills too, and also, teach them, in love. Teach them in a loving way that, that they would, love education because someone, invests in them because somebody loves them, making some type of sacrifice to make sure that they have good educational learning, which is more to me hands-on and knowledge versus, being in the classroom and just learning the knowledge part according to a certain standard that's given to a teacher from some authority that half of the time really don't understand. Oh, why this school failing? Well, you have to go into the neighborhoods, you have to go into the houses, go into the homes, look at their environment, look at who they're hanging around with. And, of course, all children who even are failing, a lot of that is really not their fault. It's just like if, someone had to, go before a judge of some type of crime that was committed, sometimes the person is not a criminal all by themselves. Sometimes a person is a criminal because society made them a criminal. Police officers have made them a criminal. The judge made them a criminal. Politicians, certain beliefs made them a criminal. As I always say, even myself, if I have to go before, judge or whatever, I would ask anybody, whoever it may be, try to understand me first and don't label me as a criminal, but try to understand me first that, hey, the reason, I committed whatever crime it is, try to understand a person first versus just throwing the book at them right then and there. Oh, well, he got a speeding ticket. He's a criminal. He's just bad. He's just evil. Well, no, not necessarily. Yeah, that person got a speeding ticket. Yeah, he need to, pay his dues when it comes to, speeding ticket or whatever type of offense is, that's committed. And that's another video I'll talk about later on, the difference between a crime and an offense. But yeah, and I think that's one of the main reasons why you also have a lot of students that are failing. They're giving up hope because nobody wants to try to understand that child. Why that child don't have school clothing or school supplies. Why this child's been bad or been disrupted. Some of that stuff is mental. There's a lot of things that's mental, and if that child don't seek the help that they need to have, then of course that child is going to act out and get into something that they have no business getting into. Like if the streets show more love to that child than the parents do and the teachers, then guess what? Of course that child is going to go towards the streets way. Oh, why he's selling drugs? Well, maybe it's because that person who's selling drugs applied for a job after job after job and after job. No one calls him back. Whenever he goes up there to check on his application, They say he or she is not qualified, but yet the hiring sign is still up there. You want to try to fulfill that need, but you won't give that person a chance, even though the qualification, anybody, can get that job. So when a person don't get that job, they know bills ain't gonna stop coming just because they're not working. So guess what? They will go out there and sell drugs, anything to try to stay above water. And that's what a lot about politicians. A lot of blacks and whites need to understand. Okay, yeah, you're living in a rich, affluent neighborhood. Yeah, you're making good money, but you also got to realize that everyone who don't live in that neighborhood, or they're not considered bottom feeders or criminals or bad or evil. Some people just need a start. They just need a jump start. When a person is forever put down and kicked down, then guess what? Again, they gonna go towards something to try to stay afloat. So yeah, when it comes to the school system, try to understand what's going on in the school system. Don't try to label everybody as bad just because they're disruptive or just because they're a failing student. There's a lot of things that play a part in that. One of the subjects I think also that need to be taught in schools too as well is critical thinking. Yes, we heard about that, but I mean like critical thinking, like really get, like sit down, have different group discussions, different things that affect the average person's life, and just different subjects, different subjects and topics, race, money, poverty, business starting, you don't have to, and I don't understand why they don't teach that, which it goes to show you that, college, is sort of a scam. I'm not saying that a person shouldn't go to college at all, but when it comes to, a person having to thinking, you got to go to college to become something, to be better, to become a man. Well, whoa, wait a minute. I thought, I was a man anyway. I don't need a school or anyone to tell me that I'm a man just because I go to college. And some people just don't have the time, or it's some type of instruction, obstruction in their life that's hindering them from that. But I believe a person can become great, without college. Now, if you want to go to college, by all means, go. I'm not knocking it. I'm just knocking it if a person say that you have to go to college to be somebody. And with all these apps and, videos that people can do on YouTube and even become an apprentice under someone, you can become somebody without getting hundreds and, thousands, of dollars in debt. And it's even sadder that you got people who graduated college, got their college degree job, and they still can't find a job in that field, or they find a job in that field that still can't keep up with the growing prices of the things that's going on in society. Like, look at the food prices. It's crazy how it's going up. I mean, it's like, okay, you're making $18 an hour, but yet whenever, your pay goes up, it seems like everything else goes up even more. So it's really like, you don't have a fair fight. Just when you get ahead, then those high prices get even further ahead, or as they say, prices go up, but wages, when wages go up, prices go up even more, and you're really not getting ahead. Another thing that need to be taught, I think, believe it or not, that learning how to grow your own food, that's another thing that need to strongly be taught to as well. You go to a grocery store, you want to buy some fruit. Fruit prices has gone up, ridiculously. You want to know how to grow your own food, and you want to try to get as organic as possible, because that plays a part too as well, that our children and just this society alone is not eating correctly. You want to eat healthy, but it costs so much to eat healthy. So guess what? You're going to go back to the unhealthy stuff. Yeah, you know it's unhealthy, but it's a lot more cheaper than your organic stuff. You know, some organic stuff, yeah, it is cheap. You know, but yeah, growing your own food, you know, that's one of them. You know, another thing that needs to be taught in school is how to debate. How to debate, how to understand this or that, you know, talk about subjects and, you know, like to revolutionize, you know, revolution, you know, because school's supposed to be there for you to help you to think, not to just help you, well, not just to, okay, you need to believe this. You know, yeah, you got to believe this because the school system teaches you that. You just need to learn to just take orders, be obedient. And, you know, I'm not that type of person. You know, I have to question, you know, what I'm learning. You know, revolution, you know, why this revolution happened, or how does a revolution look like, you know? You know, today, you know, in today, you know, society, we need more revolutions, you know, to go up and question this complacent, obsolete system that's not helping a person, but just telling them, hey, they just need to do this and do that, and they'll be fine. But you know, help me to, you know, tackle the situation I'm in now. You know, the poverty, you know, the crime, you know. You know, how can I get a good education when I barely have any money, or I'm constantly being harassed by police, or I'm just living in a poverty-stricken area, which, you know, when it comes to that, that's what comes into mind the most, you know, that poverty, the crime-stricken area. We need people who really love, you know, the future of this generation, you know, who really loves people, you know, to, you know, want to sacrifice something to help people. You know, I don't care how much police you put on the streets. I don't care how many jail cells and prisons you build. That's not going to solve the problem. You know, you can have police on every corner and it's still not going to solve the problem. If you want to solve the problem, try to empty the jails as much as possible. But of course, you got, you know, your big wig elites. They don't want to do that because that's taking away their money. So therefore, you know, the more they lock up criminals, because not all people, you know, who are in jail or in prison are criminals. Not everybody who is found guilty is guilty. You know, the system has always made mistakes over time. You know, especially towards, you know, blacks and other minorities. And I'm not saying that whites haven't been unjustly convicted to as well. So this country has a long way to go, and I'm just speaking on the school system itself. The school system is terrible here. It's very, very, very terrible. It needs to be revolutionized, and we who are strong, you know, need to get together, work together as a clan, as a family, to try to take a young person under our wing to truly teach them, to motivate them, to give them some type of light or hope. Because if you don't give a child hope, you know, especially nowadays, the school system is showing up crazy. You got kids, you know, raising up against teachers, threatening to fight, to hurt a teacher, or, well, I'll shoot you, teacher. You know, you got things like that. I mean, it's a big problem that's tearing the schools up. So, yeah, that's the key. You know, we just need to question everything to you know, groups of young men and women just need to just, you know, be the big brothers, to be the father figures, to be the big sister, to be the mother figures towards somebody who just need an extra light of hope in them, to walk with them. And when we have that, you know, we can completely revolutionize the schools, and we can, you know, decrease, you know, the crime that's happening. We can decrease the failing schools, you know, system. But it takes a neighborhood, not the government, not any institution, but it starts with the neighborhood. You know, it starts with that first. It must start with that first. So that's the end of my video right there, and I will talk to y'all later on, and let me know what y'all think about it.